Someone said that the strongest walls are not made of concrete, but of fear, guilt, and pride. Today, as we mark Prison Awareness Sunday, we remember that not all prisons have bars. Some are invisible, made of anxiety, trauma, resentment, and despair. And soldiers, families, or any one of us may find ourselves trapped in these inner prisons. And yet, the message of today's scriptural readings is profoundly helpful. They remind us that God listens to the lowly, He strengthens the weary, and lifts those who fall. The first reading tells us that God listens to the wounded and humble. Sirach says, the prayer of the lowly, the prayer of the humble pierces the clouds. In other words, humility is the key to healing. Because humility makes us real before God. In humility, we drop the mask of strength and allow God to meet us in truth. A proud heart hides its wounds, but a humble heart shows them to the divine physician. Healing begins when we stop pretending that we are fine and start acknowledging our pain, fear, or guilt. For soldiers and their families, humility means accepting that even the strongest need rest, even the bravest need comfort, and even leaders need someone to listen to them. God cannot feel a heart that is already full of pride, but He overflows the heart that is open, honest, and poor in spirit. That is why Sirach says, the prayer of the lowly, the prayer of the humble pierces the clouds. It means God rushes to the humble. He bends down to the broken. In humility, we stop fighting our battles alone and allow the Lord to fight with us and for us. And that is where true healing and peace begin. The second reading tells us that true strength comes from persevering faith. St. Paul says, I have fought a good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. St. Paul is telling us that true strength is not the absence of struggle, but the courage to keep faith in the struggle. And St. Paul wrote this line when he was abandoned, imprisoned, and awaiting death. But his heart was full of peace. Why? Because his strength no longer depended on people and circumstances, but it rested on God's constant presence. And that is the secret of persevering faith. It transforms pain into purpose. For soldiers and families, or for any one of us, there are battles that weapons cannot win. The battles against despair, fear, or loneliness. But when faith anchors the soul, even prison walls or personal failures cannot imprison hope. God stands beside us in every mission, in every field operation, in every sleepless night. Mental resilience begins here, knowing that our strength is not just physical or emotional, but spiritual. When we believe that God stands with us, we no longer see ourselves as victim of pain, but as victor through grace. As St. Paul said, the Lord stood by me and gave me strength. That same Lord stands by every soldier, every spouse, every family, and everyone who keeps believing, even in the dark. And lastly, the gospel reading tells us that healing begins with honesty before God. In the gospel, Jesus contrasts the proud Pharisee and the humble tax collector. The Pharisee bragged his good deeds, but the tax collector simply said, Lord, be merciful to me. I am a sinner. And Jesus said, the tax collector, the known public sinner, went home blessed and justified. That this gospel captures one of Jesus' deepest lessons of inner healing. The tax collector's simple prayer, Lord, have mercy on me, shows that healing begins not with hiding our wounds, but with facing them before God. When we are honest, we stop pretending to be strong and allow God's grace to do what our pride cannot, to forgive, to restore, and to renew. Pride isolates because it builds walls around pain as we try to hide our pain. Humility heals because it opens those walls to grace. For soldiers, it means you don't need to carry every burden alone. For family members and for all of us, it means we can stop pretending we are fine when our heart is heavy. God already knows the truth. He just wants us to bring it to Him. That is why the humble man went home justified. When we pray with honesty, we go home lighter, freer, and at peace. Because in prayer, we surrender ourselves to God. We surrender everything to Him. And in that surrender, mental strength and spiritual healing begin. Because only when we kneel can God lift us up. Amen.